I realize I've made a mistake the second the office door clicks shut behind me. It's a soft sound. Just metal touching metal. But it ricochets through my body like a gunshot. A second ago, the hallway outside was loud. Bass from the club downstairs. Laughter. The clink of glasses. The low rumble of men who never really relax. Now there's only this room. This desk. This man. Alberto Russo. He isn't supposed to be here. The security feed I watched from the staff corridor showed an empty office, a spinning chair, and a half-finished drink. He was downstairs smiling for donors, shaking hands with men who pretend they don't know they're buying absolution from a criminal. At least that's where my father's intel said he'd be, but he's here, behind the desk, leaned back like a king on a throne, one arm draped along the leather armrest, the other still cradling that crystal tumbler. He doesn't look surprised. That's the part that scares me. I was wondering when you were going to stop lurking in my hallway, he says. His voice is lower than it sounded on the wiretaps. Warmer. There's a slice of amusement in it, something dark and smooth that curls around my spine. Every instinct I've ever been trained with screams at me to move, to run, to do anything but stand frozen with my hand still on the doorknob like a girl who wandered into the wrong bathroom. I wasn't lurking, I manage. My mouth is dry. I was looking for the restroom. One of his brows lifts, a small, elegant gesture that says he's heard better lies from better liars. In the private wing, he says, past the staff-only sign, through a door marked office. I force my fingers to unclench from the knob. There's no point pretending I got lost. Nobody gets lost up here. Not the girlfriends, not the dancers, not the bored socialites in sequins and borrowed diamonds. A man with a gun and a list guards this corridor. He let me pass because my name was on that list. He didn't know whose daughter I am. I needed some air, I say, because admitting nothing is better than admitting the truth. It's loud downstairs. He watches me for a long beat that stretches tight as wire. The office is bright enough to see every detail. The cut of his navy suit, the gleam of his watch, the faint scar along his jaw I've studied in grainy photos on my father's caseboard. Everything about him says money and control. The bureau files call him ruthless, dangerous, untouchable. None of them says he's devastating up close. Close the door, Giada, he says. The sound of my name in his mouth is a shock. I didn't give it to him. I used my middle name at the door, the one that doesn't appear in any bureau database, my pulse trips. It's already closed, I say, stalling. Lock it, then. There's no lock. He smiles, slow and sure. We both know there is. He's right. I felt it under my palm when I came in, the weight of the deadbolt disguised as an ordinary latch. I could throw it now, trap myself in here with him, or I could leave it and pretend I have options. My father's voice flickers through my head. When you're outgunned, you don't pretend you're not. You use what you have left. Time, words, nerve. I leave the lock alone and take my hand off the knob. That's its own kind of answer. He notices. Of course he notices. Smart girl, he murmurs. I take 2 steps into the room. Not close enough to be in arm's reach, not far enough to look like I'm afraid. The office smells like leather and expensive cologne, with an undernote of gun oil my father would have picked up instantly. I only recognize it because I've been forcing myself to. You know my name, I say. That feels unfair, considering I never got a proper introduction. His mouth curves. You know my name. Yes, I say before I can stop myself. The newspapers make sure of that. His gaze sharpens, catching the edge in my voice. Most women probably say his name like a prayer or a dare. I say it like a line item in a briefing. For a second, there's a flicker in those hazel eyes, something that looks suspiciously like interest. You don't sound impressed, Tesoro. I don't speak Italian, I lie. Liar, he says softly. Heat crawls up my neck. I should be better at this. I've spent years watching men on witness stands, listening to my father rip holes in their stories. I know what tells look like. I know how they smell. Sweat. Panic. The clumsy scramble for a different version of the truth. Right now, I'm the one shifting on my heels while he stays perfectly still. Fine, I say. I don't speak much Italian. Better. He lifts his glass, studies me over the rim. You still haven't told me why you're in my office. Because I needed proof. Because the flash drive, pressed against the inside of my clutch, holds 2 minutes of footage I should never have been able to get, and I wanted 5 more. Because somewhere under all the training, lectures, and rules, I wanted to see the monster up close before we put him in a cage. Because I wanted to know if he looked like the kind of man who could ruin my father. I got turned around, I say. The guard downstairs said, "The guard downstairs knows better than to send anyone up here without a reason." His tone doesn't change, but the air in the room does. It tightens. Try again. My fingers flex around the clutch. It's a cheap thing. Fake leather. Bought yesterday with cash. The flash drive inside it feels heavier than it is. I should have gone straight to the bathroom as we planned, slid the data into the hidden relay my father's team drilled into the tile last week. In and out. No improvising. Instead, I came here. Curiosity kills more than cats, Giada. My date's probably looking for me, I say. If you let me go, we can pretend this never happened. Can we? He asks. He sets his drink down with exaggerated care, the tumbler a soft click against the coaster. Then he stands. I've seen him stand 100 times on screens in dark briefing rooms. It never felt like this. He's taller than the men who flanked him at the bar, broader through the shoulders than he looked 3 inches high on a monitor. His presence fills the room in a way that has nothing to do with his size and everything to do with the way he moves. Unhurried, coiled, like he's never needed to rush a day in his life. Every step he takes toward me is deliberate. Here's my problem, he says. People don't just wander into my office. They don't get turned around. And they definitely don't stand in front of me and lie with their pulse jumping in their throat. I swallow, too late. He stops just out of reach, close enough that I can see a tiny nick on his jaw where he shaved too fast. The imperfection makes everything else about him feel more dangerous, not less. Monsters with scars are real. Monsters with perfect faces belong in stories. The man in front of me is both. Your name is Giada Romano, he says quietly. You're 28. You grew up in Queens. You left for D.C. 6 years ago and came back 3 months ago. Your favorite coffee shop is 2 blocks from the field office on Varick, and you run along the river 3 times a week when you can't sleep. The room tilts. I don't remember telling anyone at the bureau where I run. My heartbeat thunders in my ears. Have you been following me? Of course. His voice is almost gentle. The moment my people told me Special Agent Anthony Romano's daughter was having drinks in my club, I became very interested in you. The world narrows to the shape of his mouth around my father's name. I think you're confusing me with someone else, I say. But the words sound thin, already dying. He smiles, slow and lethal. No, Giada, he says. I know exactly who you are. The question is, do you know what that means for you now? I should lie. I should run. I should claw my way back to the hallway and pretend the last 30 seconds never happened. But all I can do is stand there with his name from my father ringing in my skull like a warning bell. My father always said that criminals study their enemies the way surgeons study anatomy. Deeply, obsessively, with a kind of reverence twisted into something useful. But he never said anything about a criminal studying the enemy's daughter. Alberto watches me absorb his words, his expression maddeningly calm. You didn't know I knew, he murmurs. Interesting. I don't know what you think you've heard, but... Stop. He lifts a hand, and somehow that tiny motion cuts me off more effectively than if he'd shouted. I'm not interested in what you think I believe. I'm interested in what you were doing. The clutch suddenly weighs 10 pounds in my palm. He notices my glance toward it. Of course he does. His gaze sharpens, pinpointing the exact place my nerves fray. Bring it here, he says softly. My mouth dries. It's just a bag. Then bring it. My feet stay rooted to the floor. If I go to him, he'll take it. If he takes it, he'll find the drive. If he finds the drive, I force myself to breathe. I need a distraction, a new angle, something. You seem very sure I'm here because of my father, I say carefully. Maybe I just wanted a drink. If you wanted a drink, Alberto says, you wouldn't be in my office. You'd be at the bar, or you'd be dancing downstairs, or you'd be watching the VIP booths, pretending not to wonder what goes on behind their curtains. His eyes flick over me, not with lust, at least not only that, but with unsettling accuracy. But you're here, in a restricted area, with a bag you don't want me to see. And you think that means something? I know it does. The desk behind him gleams under the dim light, a perfect lacquered surface that reflects his silhouette. One wrong move, one wrong reveal. I don't know what he does to informants, but the case files don't read like bedtime stories. He takes one step closer. He's inches from me now, too close for a lie to have room to breathe. Giada, he says, and the sound of my name is different this time, quieter, coaxing, like he's trying to draw the truth out of me with tone alone. What's in the bag? What do you think is in the bag? He smiles faintly. Something you don't want me to see. He's right, and we both know it. Another step. Now the scent of him pulls around me. Warm smoke, clean linen, something darker underneath. My pulse jumps without permission. You came here for a reason, he says, and I want you to tell me what it was. I told you I was lost. He huffs a soft laugh. Tesoro, there are 300 people downstairs who would believe anything that comes out of your mouth, but I'm not one of them. My skin heats, not with shame, with irritation. Because he's right. Because he sees too much. Because part of me, the part I don't listen to, likes that he doesn't buy the bullshit I've fed other men since I was 18. Fine, I say. I wanted privacy. For what? To think, I lie. Something in his gaze shifts. To think, he repeats, as if he's tasting the word. Most people don't come to my office to think. They come to beg. Beg! I choke out a laugh. For what? For mercy, for favors, for money, for the return of something they wish they'd never lost. That's not me. I know. My chest tightens. He steps to my side and I turn with him, keeping him in view the way my father taught me. But Alberto isn't circling like a predator. He's studying me, the way a mathematician studies an unsolved formula, methodically, almost admiringly. You walk like your father, he says. Did you know that? The breath punches out of me. What? Controlled, balanced, every step calculated, the way federal agents are trained. But there's something else in your stride, something he doesn't have. And what's that? Defiance. My stomach twists. He lowers his voice. You didn't come here on bureau business tonight. Not really. Is that so? You came here because you wanted to see for yourself. I exhale shakily. See what? What kind of man am I? The air leaves my lungs too fast. He's not wrong. Worst of all, he's not guessing. He's reading me correctly, piece by piece. That's ridiculous, I say. No, he murmurs, stepping closer until I feel the heat of his body along mine. It's honest. My pulse stutters. The dim light reflects off his eyes, turning them molten, attentive. No one has ever looked at me like this, not even the men I dated. They saw what I showed them. He sees what I hide. It should terrify me. And it does. But it also draws me in like gravity. He lifts his hand and then pauses, giving me space to refuse. It's absurd. A Mafia kingpin offering a boundary. But somehow I feel it. The question. The waiting. I don't move. His fingers touch my chin, tilting it up just enough that I meet his gaze fully. You're not your father, he says softly. That's the part he never understood. I swallow. What part is that? That you choose your own wars. My throat is tight. This is wrong. This is dangerous. This is the moment in every briefing when my father would freeze the video, press his knuckles to the table and say, "This is how people disappear." But I'm not disappearing. I'm standing in the center of the room like someone who still believes she has control. He studies my face, searching for something. Recognition, maybe. Or honesty. Or weakness. Then he releases my chin and takes a single step back. Not far, but enough that I can breathe again. "Hand me the bag," he says. "No." The word comes out stronger than I expected. Amusement flickers in his eyes. "No? You don't get to search me just because you're suspicious." "Oh, tesoro," he says, and there's something close to admiration in the word. "I get to search you because you're in my office. Without permission. With information I'm sure you weren't supposed to collect." My blood runs cold. He knows. He doesn't know everything, but he knows enough. I tighten my grip on the clutch. "You're assuming I did something illegal." "I'm assuming you didn't come here to admire the decor. You're awfully confident for someone who might be wrong." "Am I wrong?" His voice is low, almost dangerous, not in threat, but in certainty. He's peeling me open without ever touching me. I lift my chin. "I want to leave." "You can't." "Why not?" "Because you barged into the den of a wolf," he says softly. "And now you expect to walk out with stolen meat. That's not how this works." My heart slams. "I'm not your enemy," I whisper. "No," he agrees, "not yet." He extends his hand again, not demanding, but inevitable. "Give me the bag, Giada." My fingers tremble. He oversees them. Like the answer he wants isn't in the bag at all, but in the way I hesitate. "There are 2 ways this goes," he says, not threateningly, but with the inevitability of a man who has learned to predict people far better than they predict him. "You hand it to me and we talk. Or you keep fighting me, and we start down a road I don't think you're prepared for." "What road?" "A war." The word settles between us. Heavy, certain, irrevocable. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't touch me. He doesn't make a single move that looks like force. But he's already winning, because somewhere in my chest, against my will, the truth blooms. I don't want to start a war with him. I want to understand him. Slowly, I loosen my grip on the clutch. He watches, patient, waiting. Not for the bag, but for my choice. For better or worse, I place it in his hand. His fingers brush mine when he takes the clutch. Barely a graze, just the softest contact. But it lights up every nerve ending in my body. I pull my hand back too quickly, and his eyes flick to the movement, registering it, filing it away like everything else. He doesn't open the bag right away. Instead, he holds it lightly in one hand, his thumb stroking the cheap material as if he's weighing more than the object itself. He's weighing me. "You gave it up too easily," he says, almost to himself. "I didn't." "Yes, you did." His voice is calm, but sharp at the edges. "If this were a weapon, you would have fought harder. If it were useless, you would have tossed it at me like garbage. But you hesitated, then surrendered. Which means whatever is in here is important enough to protect, but not important enough to die for." My mouth goes dry. "You're reading too much into it." "Am I?" He slides the zipper open. I inhale sharply, but he doesn't reach in. Instead, he lifts his gaze to me again, eyes unreadable. "This is the moment," he says softly. "The moment where you either tell me the truth, or I discover it myself." I try to steady my breathing. "Why give me the option?" His head tilts slightly. "Because I'm curious what kind of woman walks into my world wearing defiance instead of fear." "I'm not afraid of you." "Liar," he whispers with a hint of something darkly amused. "Your pulse says otherwise." "It's adrenaline," I snap. "It's me," he corrects too gently. Heat crawls up my throat. I should deny it. I should turn away. But he steps closer, and the nearness steals my breath again. He's warm, solid, far too real for the cardboard villain the Bureau makes him out to be. "Tell me what you came for," he murmurs. "Tell me before I decide you have nothing left worth protecting." His thumb strokes the clutch again, slow, deliberate. This is a test, of loyalty, of fear, of who I am, but not a test I can pass without betraying everything I've worked for. "I came here because I was curious," I say finally, truth wrapped in lies. "Curious about you." His lashes lower slightly. "Curious," he repeats, tasting the word like he tasted the last one. "Yes. And you expect me to believe that curiosity brought an FBI agent's daughter into my office with a hidden flash drive?" The world lurches. He reaches into the bag and pulls out the drive like a magician producing a card he already knew was there. He turns it between his fingers, the metal glinting under the dim light. Federal-grade encryption, he says, more to himself than to me. Not something a curious woman brings to a nightclub. I take a step back without meaning to. He doesn't follow. He watches me with unnerving calm, holding the most incriminating thing I've ever touched. The air between us thickens. Finally, he says, "If this contains what I think it contains, your father sent you to your death." My father doesn't know I'm here. The words spill out before I can stop them. And for the first time tonight, Alberto Russo actually looks surprised. He stares at me, the drive still dangling from his fingers. "Explain." "I came because I wanted to," I say quietly. "Not because he ordered it." His brows lift. "So you're a rogue agent now?" "I'm not an agent." "Not officially," he says. "But your father raised you to be one. He trained you like one, and I'm willing to bet he prepared you to die like one." "That's dramatic." "It's reality." He steps closer. "Your father has spent 20 years trying to bring me down. You think he didn't anticipate you'd try to impress him by doing something reckless?" "This wasn't about impressing him." "No?" His voice softens until it feels like silk cutting through my defenses. "Then who was it about?" My breath hitches. He doesn't look away. "Tell me." This is the part I don't want to say. The part that feels embarrassing, stupid, disloyal to myself. "It was about the truth," I whisper. "My father lies about you." That gets his attention. He steps closer, expression sharpening like a blade being honed. "What does he lie about?" "Everything." He waits, silent, patient, dangerous. "I wanted to see for myself," I finally admit. "Not just from dossiers or recordings. I wanted to see the man he hates." "And what did you see?" My chest tightens. He's asking for more than an answer. He's asking for judgment, for a verdict I don't have the clarity to give. "I don't know," I breathe. He studies me for a long moment, and something changes in his face. Something darker, deeper, far more personal. "You came here," he says softly, "to understand the monster." My pulse spikes. "I never said you're a monster." "No," he murmurs, stepping close enough that I feel his breath. "But you wondered." My throat tightens. I don't deny it. I can't. "And now?" he asks. Now I don't know anything. All I know is that the man standing before me feels too real, too human, too complex to fit the stories my father built around him. "I still don't know," I say honestly. He nods once, slow, contemplative. "Good," he says. "Good? If you walked in here certain of what I am," he murmurs, "you would be a fool or a corpse." The air vibrates with something electric, danger, desire, or both. He slips the flash drive into his pocket with unsettling gentleness, like he's tucking away something intimate. "Come sit," he says, gesturing to the chairs near the low table. "I'd rather stand." He smiles. "I'd rather you sit." "Why?" "Because you're shaking." I stiffen. "No, I'm not." "You are," he says quietly. "Not with fear, with adrenaline, with curiosity, with the weight of a truth you're not ready to admit." I swallow hard. "Which is?" "That you don't want to leave." My heart slams against my ribs. He steps closer again, lowering his voice. "Not yet." "I should leave." "Yes," he murmurs, "but you won't." He's right. I don't move. Instead, I hear myself say, "What happens now?" Alberto's eyes soften, not with kindness, but with certainty. "Now," he says, "I decide whether you walk out of this room as a threat or something else entirely." My breath catches. Something else? His gaze drifts over my face, lingering on my lips, my throat, the part of me that should be afraid but isn't. "Yes," he whispers, "something else." And for the first time I realize the danger here isn't that Alberto Russo might kill me. It's that he might not. He turns and walks toward the seating area. A dark leather couch, a low marble table, a single chair angled toward the window as if he sits there to think, or to judge, or to decide the fate of whoever stands before him. He doesn't look back to see if I follow. He doesn't need to. Something about him, his certainty, his composure, the quiet command in every movement, pulls me forward. My heels sound loud against the polished floor, each step echoing like I'm walking deeper into something I won't be able to climb out of. He waits until I'm close, then gestures again to the chair. When I don't immediately sit, he raises one brow, a silent challenge. Fine, I lower myself into the chair. The leather is softer than I expect, molding to my body, and for a strange second it feels like I've sunk into something meant to trap me. Not physically, but psychologically. Any woman who sits here understands she's surrendering something, even if she doesn't know what. Alberto takes the seat across from me, not the couch, and somehow that's worse. The sofa would have put him further away. The sofa would have implied casualness. The chair means focus. You're calmer now, he says. I'm not. You are, he repeats, and the worst part is that he sounds almost pleased. Fear makes you sharp, but the absence of fear makes you honest. I never said I wasn't afraid. You don't have to. I can feel it. His gaze drifts over me, slow, assessing. It left when you handed me the drive. That makes no sense, doesn't it? He leans back, legs spreading slightly in that careless way powerful men do when they expect the room to rearrange itself for them. You were tense before, coiled, ready to bolt. But the moment you gave it up, you relaxed. That's just adrenaline dropping. No, Tesoro. His head tilts. That was surrender. My breath catches. Surrender to what? To the truth you're not ready to name. His voice softens to a coaxing murmur. That you came here searching for something. That you wanted something from me long before you touched that flash drive. That isn't true. What did you want, Giada? He whispers. A villain? A myth? A monster to hate? Or something else? I didn't want anything. He smiles. Liar. Silence stretches between us, thick as smoke. Then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out the drive. He sets it on the table, between us, not closer to him or to me. Neutral ground. A line drawn with intention. You think this is what I care about? He asks. It's evidence. It's surveillance. His eyes lock with mine. A breadcrumb leading somewhere you didn't think I would follow. I wasn't following anything, I just wanted the truth, he finishes for me. So let's have it. I swallow hard. What truth? Why you came here tonight. I've never been interrogated like this. Not on record, not in training. Not even by my father when he was still trying to shape me into something sharp enough for the world he lived in. Alberto is different. He asks questions the way predators test fences, to see what shakes. I look away, needing distance, needing air, needing something that isn't him bending the room around me with his gaze alone. Giada, he murmurs. The sound of my name pulls my eyes back to him before I can stop myself. Tell me, he says softly. I wanted to see you. His expression shifts. Not triumph, not arrogance, but something depthless. Why? Because the papers lie. Because the Bureau lies. Because my father lies. Because I needed to know if you were the monster they painted or the man who walks into courtrooms with perfect composure and politely dismantles prosecutors until juries fall in love with your smile. Because I needed to know the truth for myself. Because you've been a shadow over my life for years, and I wanted to see the man behind it. Because I needed to know if you were human, but I can't say any of that. So I say the smallest truth inside the biggest lie. I was curious. His eyes flicker. Not with surprise, but with recognition, like he's just confirmed something he suspected. That curiosity, he says quietly, will cost you. My chest tightens. Cost me what? Everything you walked in here believing? He leans forward, forearms braced on his knees, and every muscle in my body reacts, tightening and alerting. Not with fear. Something else. You want the truth? He asks. Here it is. He picks up the drive, rolling it once between his fingers, then sets it down again. You think I'm worried about this? I'm not. You think I'm angry you tried to collect evidence? I'm not. What concerns me, what fascinates me, is why you did it alone. I didn't want him involved. Your father? Yes. Alberto's voice drops. Because you don't trust him. I never said that. You didn't have to. A beat passes, silent but devastating. You think you came here to find the truth about me? He says softly. But the truth you're really afraid of is the one about him. My stomach twists. Don't pretend you know my father. Oh, tesoro, he murmurs. I know your father better than you do. I stiffen, but he lifts one hand in a calming gesture. Not dismissive, not mocking, but almost gentle. Anthony Romano built his career on a fantasy, he says. A fantasy where morality is simple, where justice is clean, where men like him are heroes, and men like me are monsters. You are a criminal. Yes, he says easily. But monsters? Your father made that word convenient. It excused his obsession. It excused the way he ignored you. My throat closes. He didn't. He loves me. I'm sure he does, Alberto says. But he loves his war more. I want to deny it. But something shifts in my ribcage. Cracking open the part of me that has always known my father's love comes second to his crusades. Why does any of this matter to you? I ask hoarsely. Because the moment you walked into my world, he says, voice low and steady, you became mine to understand. I stare at him. I'm not yours. Not yet, he whispers. I freeze. He watches me with a patience that feels like pressure, like inevitability. But you will be, he adds softly, if you stay. I'm not staying. You already are. It hits me then. The truth I don't want to acknowledge. I haven't moved toward the door once since he took the drive. You think you know everything, I whisper, anger trembling at the edges. You don't know me. I know enough. You know nothing. I know you're not leaving without answers, he says. And I know that whatever you thought you believed when you walked in here is already unraveling. I want to scream at him. I want to run. I want to tear down the version of me he thinks he sees. Instead, I ask the one question I shouldn't. What am I to you? His expression doesn't change, but his voice does. You, he says quietly, are a problem I don't want to solve. My breath stutters. And a truth, he adds, I don't want to unlearn. His gaze drifts over me again, softer this time, almost reverent. You walked into my office, he murmurs, and for the first time in years I wasn't bored. The world seems to tilt. Why are you telling me this? I whisper. Because you wanted to see the man behind the monster, he says, leaning back. And I don't hide from the people I choose to keep. My pulse spikes. Keep? Yes. And if I refuse? He smiles faintly. Then I suppose, he says, I'll have to make you want to stay. His words settle over my skin like heat, like a warning, like a promise I should run from. But don't. I grip the armrest of the chair, forcing my voice steady even as something in me unravels. You don't get to decide whether I stay. I don't? He asks softly, almost amused. Tesoro, you're here. You walked past my guards. You stepped into my office. You handed me evidence that could end your father's career, and you're still sitting in that chair. That doesn't mean you get to claim me. It means, he murmurs, that something inside you already chose this moment long before you realized it. Heat floods my cheeks. You're projecting. I'm observing. No, I say sharply, needing distance, needing logic. You're manipulating. He gives a slow, appreciative nod. Finally, a spark. His eyes sharpen. But I don't need to manipulate you, Giada. You answer your own questions just by breathing near me. The worst part is, he says it like it's a fact. Not arrogance, not seduction, just truth spoken aloud. And I hate that it affects me. I hate that he sees it. I hate that it feels like he's not wrong. I push to my feet, needing the ground to feel solid under me. I'm done here. He watches unmoving. Are you? Yes. No, he says calmly. My fingers curl into fists at my sides. You don't get to contradict me. I do, he says, when your actions contradict your words. I told you I'm leaving. Then go. I blink. He gestures casually toward the door, as if he hasn't spent the last half hour pulling me apart thread by thread. Walk out, he says. Nothing's stopping you. I hesitate. His gaze drifts to the hesitation, seizes on it, and understands it before I do. There it is, he whispers. The truth. I grit my teeth. You think I'm afraid to leave? No, he says. I think you're afraid to want to stay. Anger flares hot in my chest. Too bright. Too fast. Maybe because he's wrong. Perhaps because he's right. This may be because tonight wasn't supposed to go this way. I don't want anything from you, I say. He rises, and suddenly the room feels too small. His height, his presence, the quiet authority in every line of his body. It all hits me at once. He isn't just tall. He's imposing in a way that doesn't rely on intimidation. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need to touch me. He needs to look at me. Then why? He asks softly. Are you trembling? I'm not. Yes, he says, stepping closer. You are. I can't step back. Not without proving him right. Not without admitting something I refuse to name. So I lift my chin, forcing composure into my voice. You're imagining things. No, he murmurs. I'm reading things. You especially. He stops in front of me close enough that I feel the whisper of his breath. Close enough that my heart stutters, traitorous and wild. He reaches out, not to grab me, not to trap me, but to brush a single finger under my chin. I freeze. Your father hides his ruthlessness behind righteousness, he murmurs. But you hide your fire behind obedience. I swallow hard. Stop pretending you know me. His touch stays feather light, but the intensity in his eyes feels like pressure. You came here, he says softly, because something inside you wanted to step out of his shadow. And something else, something dangerous, wanted to step into mine. My breath catches. He lowers his hand, not out of mercy, but out of intention. Tell me I'm wrong, he says. Tell me you don't feel this. There is no this, I whisper. He smiles faintly. Then why is your voice unsteady? I hate that he notices everything. I hate that part of me likes being noticed. I force a breath. You're twisting my reactions. That's all this is. Is it? Yes. His smile deepens, the kind a man wears when he already knows the next 3 moves on the board. Then explain something, he murmurs. Explain why a woman trained since childhood to distrust men like me is standing still. I'm standing still because you're blocking my path. You know I'm not. My jaw tightens. Move! No. I exhale sharply. Why not? Because you're about to lie again. I push past him. Or I try to, but the moment I take a step, his hand catches my wrist. Not harsh, not forceful, just enough to halt me mid-motion. The warmth of his touch shoots up my arm like an electric current. His voice is low, almost gentle. Giada. I turn, heart pounding, breath shaking, body betraying me in ways I don't want to examine. He studies my face as if he's memorizing it. Your father sent dozens of agents after me. Men with guns. Men with ego. Men who thought they understood danger. He steps closer. None of them ever unnerved me. His thumb brushes my pulse, still racing under his fingers. You do. Something deep in my chest twists. Fear, desire, confusion, recognition. I don't know anymore. And you hate that, I whisper. No, his tone is molten. I savor it. The room tilts around me. I pull my wrist free, stepping back fast enough to break whatever spell he's weaving. You don't get to toy with me. I'm not toying. Then what are you doing? He says it without hesitation. I'm deciding. Deciding what? Whether you're my enemy, he says quietly, or my weakness. My breath falters. I'm neither. His eyes darken. Everyone is one or the other. I don't belong to your world. You walked into it. I didn't walk in, I slipped in. No, he murmurs. You were drawn in. I was reckless, I correct, that's all. That's not all, he says. Recklessness done without intention is stupidity. You're not stupid. That's debatable. He laughs, low, rich, unexpected. The sound slides through me like warm honey in danger. You're funny, he says, watching me with a kind of fascination that feels new, even to him. Bold, defiant. and far more interesting than any federal pawn your father ever sent. I'm not a pawn. No, he agrees. You're a queen pretending to play like one. I blink. What does that even mean? It means, he says, you walked into my office thinking you were hunting answers. You didn't realize you were stepping into a negotiation. I'm not negotiating anything with you. Oh, Tesoro. His voice drops to a whisper that curls around my spine. You already are. I'm not yours to negotiate. That, he says, is what we're determining. He sits again, leaving the flash drive between us like an unopened book. This is leverage, he says, tapping it. I know, but not leverage against me. My pulse stutters. What are you saying? He leans back, looking devastatingly composed. This doesn't harm me. It harms him. My father? Yes. How? Because you obtained it, he says, without authorization, without a warrant, on soil controlled by me. That makes it inadmissible, useless in court, but it makes one thing very clear. I wait, breath caught. You no longer follow his rules, he says softly. But you haven't figured out whose rules you follow now. I feel my balance shift, the ground tilting beneath me. You think I'm choosing you? I breathe. I don't think, he says. I know. You're delusional. You're here. That doesn't mean... He raises one hand, stopping my objection with a single infuriating gesture. You stay, he says, because you want the truth. He leans forward. I stay, he whispers, because I want you. My heart slams. He sees the reaction. He feels it, and his eyes soften in a way that is somehow more dangerous than anything that came before. You should leave, he says quietly. If you're still trying to convince yourself this means nothing. He gestures toward the door again. Go, Giada. If you walk out now, I'll let you. His voice lowers. But if you take one more step toward me, even one, we both know you're not leaving at all. His words hang in the air like smoke. Thick, disorienting, impossible to ignore. The office feels smaller, warmer, heavier. I can hear the faint thump of bass from the club below. But it's distant now, muffled beneath the sound of my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. He's giving me an out. He's daring me to take it. He's betting I won't. My throat feels tight. The kind of tightness that comes when you stand too close to the edge of something high, and your body can't decide whether to retreat or leap. I force myself to turn toward the door, if only to prove, to him or to myself, that I still can. One step, the floor feels unsteady. Maybe that's me. Perhaps that's him. 2 steps. The air cools the farther I get from him, but it doesn't feel like relief. It feels like distance I don't want, distance that shouldn't matter but somehow does. 3 steps. I stop. My hand doesn't reach for the doorknob. Alberto says nothing, but I feel his attention like a hand resting lightly at the small of my back, guiding me into a decision I haven't admitted to wanting. You could leave. You should leave. You won't leave. I close my eyes for a moment, to breathe. Slow, deep, steady. I came here for answers. I came here for the truth. I came here for information I could use. But I stayed because something shifted the moment he said my name. Something changed when he looked at me, not as an intruder, not as a threat, not as an agent's daughter, but as a woman who intrigued him. Giada. I open my eyes. He hasn't moved from his seat. He doesn't need to. His voice alone pulls my entire body back into the room. You don't have to choose now, he says softly. But indecision is already a choice. The words vibrate through me. Indecision means you're torn, he continues, and being torn means you feel something. I don't, I say automatically, because that's what I'm supposed to say. He doesn't call me a liar this time. He looks at me, really looks, and somehow that's worse. Because he sees the parts I'm trying to hide from him and from myself. You didn't walk away, he murmurs. I turn slowly, my hand still hovering near the door but not touching it. That's all the proof he needs. I can see it in the faint lift at the corner of his mouth. A victory not celebrated, just acknowledged. Like he knew I'd stop, like he counted on it. I didn't stay, I counter, He rests his elbows on his knees, folding his hands loosely. You paused. It's not the same. It's the same. He says it so calmly, so sure, that for a moment I want to hate him for understanding me too well. Instead, I fold my arms across my chest, an instinctive shield. You act like you've already figured me out, I say. But you haven't. No, he agrees, but I'm closer than anyone else has been. That isn't something to brag about. That depends, he says quietly, on how much it matters to you. His words strike deeper than I expect. I swallow hard. I don't want him to matter. I don't want any of this to matter. But the truth, the one I won't say aloud, is that he already occupies space in my mind he shouldn't have access to. Come back, he says. It's not that simple. It is. You walk to me or you walk away. I shake my head. Life isn't black and white. No, he agrees, but choices are. His gaze pins me in place again, dark and steady, unyielding. You came here for truth, so here's one. If you leave now, I'll let you. No one follows you. No one touches you. No one coerces you into silence. You walk out untouched, unrestrained, and unclaimed. The last word slides through me like heat. And if I stay? I whisper. If you stay, he says, rising slowly, you step into something neither of us can pretend away later. My heart slams into my ribs. I should leave. I should run. I should do anything but stand here with my pulse visible in my throat and my breath catching at the edges. But I turn toward him. Not fully. Not yet. Enough. His eyes darken with something I can't name. Not triumph. No, that would be too small. Something steadier. Something like recognition. I take one step toward him. Just one, but it feels like crossing a threshold. There she is, he murmurs. Don't do that. Do what? Act as you know me. He smiles faintly. I don't know you, not yet. But I know the moment a woman decides to stop lying to herself. I want to snap back. I want to deny it. But his voice is a low hum, warm and certain. You're not walking away because you don't want to. I want answers, I say. You'll have them. And I want the drive back. You'll have that too. That surprises me. You're giving it back? Not yet, he says. But eventually. Why not now? Because you aren't ready for the truth it holds. My pulse quickens. You don't know what's on it. Neither do you. I open my mouth, then stop. He's right. I didn't get a chance to review the footage. I assumed it was exactly what my father wanted. But I took it, because something told me I needed to see it with my own eyes. Sit, he says again. I don't move. He doesn't push. He doesn't raise his voice. He waits, hands loose at his sides, posture relaxed but eyes razor sharp. This moment doesn't happen twice, he murmurs. You either step into it, or you walk away from everything you came here searching for. I take a breath, slow, shaky, uneven. Then I walk toward him, not because I trust him, not because he's safe, not because I should, but because something in me, a truth I'm not ready to name, pulls me in his direction. He watches every step, his gaze moving from my eyes to my mouth, to the tension in my shoulders, and reading me and learning me and undressing my intentions without ever touching me. When I reach him, only inches separate us. Close enough that his warmth reaches me. Close enough that the world outside this office feels like a distant memory. Good, he whispers. Stop saying that. Why, does it bother you? Yes. Because it's true. He reaches out, not to grab, not to intimidate, but to brush a stray strand of hair from my cheek. The touch is feather-light, barely there, yet my breath stutters like he's pressed a fingerprint against my soul. You feel this, he murmurs, and you're terrified of it. I'm not terrified. You should be. His fingers trail the air near my face, not touching, just hovering. Because once you step further into my world, he says softly, you don't step out. I meet his eyes, refusing to look away. And what if I decide I want the truth more than I want safety? Something flickers across his expression. Surprise, hunger, recognition. Then he steps closer. So close our breaths mingle. So be it, he whispers. Stay. Stay. The word shouldn't feel like a command and a caress at the same time, but it does. It shivers through me, catching on all the places I pretend are made of steel and finding the hairline cracks underneath. I should say no. Every sane, well-trained, disciplined part of me knows that. Agents don't stay in closed rooms with wanted criminals. Daughters of FBI legends don't linger within arm's reach of the man their fathers built careers trying to destroy. But I'm not an agent. I'm his daughter, and right now that feels like less of an identity and more of a weight I'm setting carefully on the floor between us. Why, I ask. The question comes out smaller than I want. Half breath, half word. His gaze softens in a way that makes the back of my neck prickle. Because you came here looking for the truth, he says quietly. And walking away now would mean you never wanted it in the first place. That's not fair. Fair is for courtrooms, he says. This is real life. And in real life you just keep people? I don't keep people, he says. I keep what matters. His eyes hold mine, steady, unflinching. And you think I matter, I say, aiming for sarcasm and hitting something shakier. I know you do. And you decided that after what, 30 minutes? Don't insult yourself, he murmurs. I decided it the moment my men told me whose daughter was walking into my club. I confirmed it the second you stepped into my office instead of the bathroom. That doesn't mean... It means, he cuts in gently, that curiosity doesn't scare you as much as it should, not when it comes to me. He's not wrong. He's absolutely wrong. He's both. And that contradiction feels like the truest thing in the room. I don't know you, I say. You will. Is that a threat? It's a promise. The word sinks into me. In my father's world, promises are leverage. IOUs engraved in invisible ink. Here, in this room, wrapped in his voice, it feels like something else. Like a line thrown across a chasm I didn't realize I was standing on the edge of. A sharp knock snaps the moment in half. We both turn. The door stays closed, but a muffled voice carries through the wood. Boss? Alberto's jaw tightens by a fraction. Whatever was in his eyes a second ago shudders behind something more extraordinary. Un attimo, he calls. I don't need a translation. I hear the patience threaded with warning. He looks back at me. Just that. One look. And I understand I'm about to see another version of him. The one the cameras don't fully capture. The one my father has only ever guessed at. Sit, he says softly. I'm not a dog. No, he agrees. A dog I'd send away. Something in his tone makes my knees bend before my pride can object. I sink back into the chair without meaning to, and hate the heat that coils low in my stomach when his gaze warms like I've done something right. He crosses to the door and unlocks it, just enough to open it a few inches. He doesn't step aside. Whoever is on the other side doesn't see me. I doubt they're allowed to. What is it? He asks. Russo, we've got a situation with the shipment. The dock's called. Customs is sniffing around more than usual. The man's voice is tense, breathless. Not afraid exactly, but wary. Like he knows bringing problems to this door is dangerous, even when it's necessary. I shouldn't listen. I listen. Every word is a crime scene, a confession, a piece of intel my father would kill for. I drag my gaze to the window instead, staring at the city lights smeared against the glass. This is what I came for. Proof that Alberto Russo isn't just charming smiles and immaculate suits. Evidence that he runs the kind of operations my father loses sleep over. Proof that he deserves to fall. Which inspector? Alberto asks. Martinez. A pause. I see the profile of his jaw tighten, just barely. He's greedy, not righteous, Alberto says. Double the usual. Tell him if he wants to feed his kids' private school tuition, he doesn't ask questions. If he insists on playing hero, remind him he's not the only one with a family. There it is. The line. The threat wrapped in family, wrapped in a voice that never rises. My stomach twists. The man outside hesitates. And if he still pushes? Then, Alberto says, so calmly it chills me, we find someone who doesn't. There's no yelling, no dramatics, just a quiet rearranging of someone's future. Yes, boss. Footsteps retreat down the hall. Alberto closes the door with soft precision, turning the lock again. The room shrinks back to the two of us, and the ghost of what I'd just heard. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't pretend it was nothing. He looks at me. "You were hoping I'd be different," he says. "I was hoping my father was wrong," I answer. "And now?" "Now I know you're exactly what he said." His gaze doesn't waver. "And does that make you want to run?" I search myself for the panic that should be there, the revulsion, the simple, clean hatred my father wears like a badge whenever he says the name Russo. "It's not that simple. I don't know," I admit. He nods once, as that answer satisfies him more than a tidy lie ever could. "That's good," he says. I almost laugh. "You keep saying that like confusion is a virtue." "No," he says, "honesty is. You weren't honest with that man at the door." "I was exactly honest," he replies evenly. "I told him how this works. You threatened a father with his children. I reminded a man who's taking dirty money that he doesn't get to pretend his hands are clean." There's no defensiveness in his tone, no attempt to make himself look better. He lays his ruthlessness on the table the same way he set the flash drive down, deliberately, unflinchingly. "Monsters don't know they're monsters," I say quietly. "Heroes don't either," he counters. "They just assume the story favors them." "And which do you think you are?" "Neither," he says. "I'm a man who understands the cost of every choice he makes." His gaze drifts over my face. "And I think," he adds softly, "you're just beginning to understand yours." He stands there for a moment, a silhouette of composure sharpened by danger, before he begins walking back toward me. Slow, unhurried, the way someone moves when they know the room bends around their gravity. I should stand. I should match his pace. I should stop letting him set the rhythm of this entire night. But I stay seated, fingers curled tight against the edge of the chair, every muscle vibrating with conflict. When he reaches me, he doesn't sit. He doesn't lean. He stops at the edge of my space, looking down at me with a quiet intensity that feels more intimate than anything he could do with his hands. "You're thinking too loudly," he murmurs. "I'm allowed to think." "You're allowed," he agrees, "but you're not being honest with yourself. Not yet." "That's rich," I snap, "coming from someone who hides half his life behind locked doors." He smiles faintly. "And yet you opened one." "That was a mistake." "No," he says. "It was a beginning." I shake my head. "You talk like this is fate. Like the moment I walked in here, everything changed." "It did. You don't get to decide that." "I don't have to decide it," he murmurs, leaning closer, not touching, not even brushing me, yet somehow invading every inch of my breath. "I only have to acknowledge it." "I don't believe in fate." "I don't either," he says softly. "I believe in consequence. And this..." His eyes drag slowly down my face, lingering on my mouth before returning to my eyes. "This is a consequence." I exhale shakily. "You're twisting things." "I'm clarifying them." "Clarifying what?" "That you didn't walk into the lion's den by accident." His head tilts slightly. "That a part of you, maybe a small part, maybe a new part, wanted to see me." "Wanted to confront you," I correct. "And now that you have?" My breath stutters. "Because now that I have, I don't know what I feel. I don't know," I whisper. He lowers himself slowly, sitting on the edge of the table in front of me. It's deliberate, putting himself at eye level, and not looming and not dominating. Just there. Present. Dangerously human. And there's something about that slight shift, that relinquishing of height and power, that makes his nearness more devastating, not less. "You're not used to not knowing," he says. "No, I'm not." "And it bothers you." "Yes." "And yet," he murmurs, slightest smile ghosting his lips, "you're not running from it." "I should." "But you're not." He says it with quiet certainty, and it lands somewhere deep inside me. I can't look away. His eyes hold mine in a way that makes the rest of the room dissolve. For one single second, I let myself wonder, if I weren't my father's daughter, if he weren't the man on the other side of every case file pinned above my childhood dinners, what would this moment be? Would it feel like danger Or would it feel like inevitability? He studies me with a patience that feels like pressure and understanding at once. Tell me what you're afraid of. You, I answer before I can stop myself. His lips part, just slightly. Not smug, not triumph. Something quieter, something that looks almost like awareness. Because I'm a criminal? He asks. Yes. Because you don't know what I'll do next? That too. Or, he says softly, his voice dipping into a lower, warmer place. Because you're starting to understand why people follow me into the dark even when they know better? My heartbeat kicks hard against my ribs. I'm not one of your people. No, he agrees. You're something else. Stop saying things like that. I can't. Why? Because they're true. I stand abruptly, the chair scraping softly against the floor. I need space, air, something that isn't him seeing every piece of me I'm not ready to show. He watches me with that same maddening calm, but there's a spark in his gaze now, interest sharpened by challenge. Do you think distance will help? He asks. It helps me think. Does it? Yes. No, he says gently. It only makes you want to come back. I glare at him. You think you're irresistible. No, he murmurs. I think you're honest with yourself only when you're close enough to hear my heartbeat. That's... I stop. The words won't form. His heartbeat? His heartbeat? Why would he say, you're impossible? And you're not used to being read, he says. Your father taught you to analyze everyone else, but never yourself. He didn't... He did. His tone softens. Not cruel, not mocking. Your world has always been built around someone else's crusade, someone else's enemies, someone else's truth. That isn't fair, I whisper. It's not meant to be. Why do you care? I don't, he says. Not about him. He stands and steps toward me. Not looming, not trapping, just closing a distance that refuses to stay comfortable. But I care what happens to you inside that truth. He stops when he's an arm's length away. Look at me, Giada. I am, I say, but it comes out quiet. No, he says. You're looking at what you've been told I am. And what are you? He holds my gaze. For the first time tonight, there's no smirk, no sharpness, no weaponized charm. Just a man standing in front of me, stripped of every rumor, every file, every monstrous portrait painted by men who wanted him caged. I am, he says slowly. Exactly who you think I am. I swallow. A criminal. Yes. A danger. Yes. A threat. His eyes dip to my mouth, then rise again. Especially to you. I should step back. I don't. And yet... He lets the words trail as his voice drops to a whisper. You're still here. I hate that he's right. I hate that he knows why. I hate that part of me wants to know what he'll say next. He closes the last bit of distance, just enough that I feel the warmth of him without being touched. Are you afraid of me now? He asks, softly, quietly. The same way Dante asked Emma in the story I read earlier tonight, but somehow more intimate, more personal. Yes, I whisper. His breath grazes my cheek. Good. I inhale sharply. But not for the reason you think, he adds. My voice trembles. Then why? Because fear, he murmurs, means you're paying attention. And you need to pay attention, Giada, because what happens next is going to change everything. Next, I breathe. Yes, he says. And what happens next? His eyes burn into mine, warm and unyielding. You tell me, he whispers, whether you want the truth or the door. And just like that, he steps back, giving me space, giving me a choice, giving me the one thing he knows will unsettle me most, power. The room feels different now, not smaller, not larger, just suspended. Like the world outside, it has paused to wait for my answer. Like everything, I thought I knew about danger and choice, and control is being rewritten quietly, without permission. He gave me power. Not real power. He still holds the evidence, still holds the leverage, still holds the secrets. But power in the way that matters most in this moment. The power to choose, truth or the door. For a long time, all I can do is stare at him. He stands perfectly still, hands relaxed at his sides, posture loose. Yet there's nothing casual about him. He's coiled without tension, alert without aggression, watching me with an intensity that feels like gravity. "What does that even mean?" I whisper. "Truth or the door?" "It means exactly what it sounds like," he says. "Walk out now, and you leave the flash drive, the questions, the pull between us, all of it, here in this room. You go back to your father's world. You pretend tonight was nothing more than trespassing and curiosity." "And the truth?" I ask. "The truth means," he says softly, "you let me show you why your father fears me, why he lie about me. Why can he not afford for you to know what I really am?" My pulse kicks. "You expect me to trust you?" "No." His gaze deepens. "I expect you to want answers badly enough to risk trusting yourself." That's not a yes or no question. It's the only question that matters. I inhale slowly, the air thick in my lungs. I don't look at the door. I don't need to. Its presence presses against my back like an escape I don't quite believe in. "What if I choose the door?" I ask. He nods once. "I let you walk." "No threats?" "No threats." "No consequences?" His silence speaks volumes, but when he answers, his voice is steady. "Only the ones you'll give yourself later." "Meaning?" "Meaning," he says. "You'll spend the rest of your life wondering why you ran." Heat flushes through me. Anger, fear, recognition all tangled together. "You're arrogant," I mutter. "You're deflecting. You're manipulating." He smiles slightly. "You keep accusing me of manipulation, Tesoro, but you haven't lied to yourself in the last 20 minutes. That's not something your father ever managed." "I didn't come here to talk about him." "You came here," he says, stepping closer again. But not too close, just enough that I feel the shift in the air. "Because a part of you stopped believing him." "About what?" "About me. I want to deny it, I do. But I can't. Because the truth is, I came here because my father's obsession has always felt too personal, too emotional, too tangled in something he never fully explained. He didn't hate Alberto Russo like a criminal. He hated him like a rival, and that terrified me more than anything in the case files. I swallow hard. "If I choose the truth," I say slowly, "what do you expect from me?" "Nothing. That surprises me. Nothing. Not obedience, not loyalty, not blind faith." He pauses. "Just honesty." My laugh is soft, strained. "Honesty? In a Mafia office?" "In my office," he corrects gently. "Not the same thing." "Feels the same." "It won't." He says it with such certainty that the room tilts again, quiet and dangerous. "And what does the truth mean for you?" I ask. "If I stay?" He oversees me. "It means I stop pretending you are insignificant." Something in my chest jolts. "And it means," he adds, voice lowering, "I stop pretending I haven't been waiting for you." My breath catches. Waiting? Anyone could have found that hallway. Anyone could have slipped past my guards. Anyone could have been reckless enough to step into this office. His eyes hold mine. "But only you did." "That doesn't mean fate." "No," he agrees. "It means choice, and consequence, and inevitability." My knees feel unsteady. My pulse is all over the place. My mind is a mess of warnings and fragments and questions I'm too afraid to voice. "You think I'm inevitable?" I manage, voice thin. "No," he murmurs. "I think we are." The floor feels unstable. Or it's just me. "You shouldn't want this," I whisper. "You shouldn't want me." "Oh, Tesoro." His voice is molten, dangerous, devastating. "Wanting you isn't the problem. The problem," he steps closer, "is how much." My chest tightens painfully. "You don't even know me. I know you walked into your enemy's den alone," he says. "I know you came seeking truth. I know you question everything your father told you, even if you won't admit it yet. I know you're brave, and reckless, and smarter than the men he trained." His jaw flexes. "And I know you tremble when I get close, but you never run." Heat floods my face. "Stop reading me." "I can't," he says. "You're too loud." I narrow my eyes. "You keep saying that. Thinking, loud, trembling, loud, wanting, loud. What does that even mean? It means, he murmurs, I hear the truth in your silence. I hate him for being right. I hate myself for letting him be right. And what about you? I ask quietly. If I choose the truth, what does that do to you? Something shifts in his expression, something subtle but real. It complicates everything, he says. I blink. You're admitting that? Yes. Why? He exhales slowly, as though choosing honesty costs him something. Because tonight was supposed to be simple. I was supposed to meet donors, settle accounts, secure the docs, make decisions that shape the week. His gaze pins me in place. And instead you walked in. That's not my fault. No, he says, it's mine. He steps even closer, the distance thinning until the world seems to narrow around his presence. I should send you away, he says quietly. I should let you run back to your father and pretend you were never here. I should erase tonight from every camera, every record, every memory. So why don't you? His answer is immediate. Because I don't want to. Silence crashes between us, thick, weighted, electric. Truth or the door, he repeats. Choose. I take a slow, shaky breath. The door looms behind me, a clean exit, a safe exit, the exit that makes sense. The truth stands in front of me, dangerous, dark, magnetic, terrifying in ways I don't understand. But my feet move toward him. Just one step. His breath hitches almost imperceptibly. Another step. His eyes darken, not with triumph, but with something more profound, heavier. A third step brings me within reach. He doesn't touch me. He waits. I choose, I whisper, the truth. For the first time, Alberto Russo closes his eyes, slowly, like he's absorbing a blow or a revelation. When he opens them again, the room feels different, and so do I. He studies the frozen image a moment longer, then looks back at me. Your father would stop right here, he says. Play this on loop for a jury. Tell them, see, this is a man who thinks he's above the law. He's not wrong, I say. No, Alberto agrees. I am above the law, but not in the way he thinks. That's supposed to make me feel better? It's not supposed to make you feel anything, he says. It's supposed to make you see. See what? The difference between power and chaos. He hits play again. On screen, Alberto turns away from the camera and moves down the hall with his men. The angle shifts to another corridor, one I recognize now. The one I walked down to get here. He disappears into this very office, the door closing behind him. Then I appear. I watch myself move down the hallway like I'm someone else. Chin up, shoulders back, every line of my body broadcasting confidence I didn't feel. I see the moment I glance toward the restroom, then choose this door instead. You hesitated, he murmurs. I know. Why did you pick mine? Because the bathroom wouldn't have answered anything, I say quietly. And you thought my office would? Yes. Did it? I tear my gaze away from the screen. I don't know yet. He smiles, not smug, not sharp, almost soft. Honest, again. The footage shows the guard glancing after me, hand brushing the gun at his hip, then deliberately looking away. It's a choice. One he made because someone told him to. You said your men told you who I was, I say. When? The moment you walked in the front door, he says. I have people who listen. People who owe me. People who know a Romano when they see one, even if she gives another name. I swallow. So this was all planned. No, he says, eyes back on the screen. It was anticipated. Not planned. Splitting hairs. Splitting intent, he corrects. If I'd planned it, you wouldn't have had a choice tonight. The footage shows me slipping into the office. The door closes. The timestamp continues to tick. We both know what happened after. He pauses the recording, then powers down the screen entirely. The monitor retracts into the ceiling, the room returning to its previous intimacy. That's not the part that matters, he says. What does? He taps his chest just once. What you saw here, not there. I saw a man who threatens customs inspectors' families when they don't look the other way, I say. He doesn't flinch. Yes. I saw a man who keeps files on judges. Yes. And a man who just admitted he's above the law. Yes. You're not exactly helping your case. I'm not making a case, he says. I'm making sure you're not delusional about what staying means. I exhale slowly for once. But I don't. Instead, I ask, and what do you think I saw here? His gaze locks onto mine, steady, relentless. You saw, he says slowly, that the monster in your father's stories is a man. Flawed, calculating, dangerous, but still a man. That doesn't absolve you. Nothing absolves me, he says quietly. That's the point. Your father wants to put me in a cage so he can pretend the world is simple. Good men, bad men, bars between them. He believes in justice. He believes in control, Alberto says. Just like I do. We're not as different as he prays we are. I think of my father at the kitchen table. Files spread like a religion between us. The way his eyes burned when he pointed to Alberto's picture. The way his hands shook sometimes when he thought I wasn't looking. What did you do to him? I ask. Alberto's expression stills as I've stepped onto a fault line. Be careful, Tesoro, he says softly. You may not like the answer. I already don't like most of your answers. He exhales a breath that almost sounds like a laugh, then leans back, studying the ceiling for a beat before returning his attention to me. I embarrassed him, he says at last. I blink. That's it? In his world, that's enough, Alberto says. He staked his reputation on a case against me 8 years ago. Spent months building it. Wiretaps. Undercover work. A witness he thought was loyal. His jaw tightens. He prepared to walk into court and cut out my heart in front of the cameras. What happened? I ruined his witness, Alberto says. Not by killing him. Your father expected that. He would have turned any funeral into a sermon. A faint smile ghosts his lips. No. I bought him. My stomach twists. You paid him off. I didn't have to pay him much, he says. Just enough to tip the scale of his fear. Your father dangled the promise of protection. I dangled the certainty of survival. That's disgusting. That's truth, he replies. Your father thought wearing a badge made him invincible. Untouchable. I pulled one thread and watched his case unravel in front of the entire district. I remember that year. The way my father came home late, shoulders rigid, the silent dinners. The unopened mail is piling on the counter. The way he looked at me was like he wanted to say something, but never did. He never told me it was you, I whisper. He never told you he failed, Alberto says. Pride doesn't confess. It rewrites. Something tightens in my chest, sharp and hot. You destroyed his work, I say. No, he corrects. I exposed its weakness. The kind of weakness that gets good men killed. His gaze deepens. He made me his obsession because he couldn't admit he built his case on a man who didn't believe in his cause. And that's supposed to make me sympathize with you? No, Alberto says quietly. It's supposed to make you question why you were raised on his version of me, and not the truth. I don't respond right away, because I can still feel the ghost of the dossiers I grew up seeing. Grainy surveillance photos spread across our dining table. My father's voice low and grim as he explained to me why monsters exist, and why some men deserve cages instead of funerals. I remember the nights he thought I was asleep while he practiced his testimony in the kitchen, his face carved from stone. Russo, Russo, Russo. My childhood was built on that name, as if it were a warning label. But standing here, with the man himself watching me like I'm a puzzle that finally started solving itself, I realized something I never expected. My father never warned me about the real danger. He warned me about the wrong man. You think I'm loyal to him, I say slowly, just because he raised me, because he fed me his stories. A man doesn't earn loyalty by blood, Alberto murmurs. He earns it by truth, by consistency, by giving you something to hold on to. He gave me everything. He gave you purpose, Alberto corrects. There's a difference. I stiffen. And what exactly do you think you're giving me? Freedom. I laugh, sharp, instinctive. Freedom? You keep people in shadows. You blackmail law enforcement. You terrify half the city. And yet, he says, stepping closer, you've never looked freer than you do right now. Something electric skitters down my spine. Stop doing that. Doing what? Reading me like I'm one of your men. You're not one of my men, he says softly. That's the problem. I swallow. Then what am I? His gaze drifts over my face, lingering for a moment at my mouth before returning to my eyes. Someone I can't afford to misjudge, he whispers. There's no heat in the words, no seduction, just truth. And maybe that's why my pulse stumbles, because I've never been spoken to like that, without pretense, without agenda, without someone trying to shape me into who they want me to be. My father always saw an extension of his war. Alberto sees a choice waiting to be made. Tell me something, I say, needing to anchor myself. Do you enjoy this? What? This dance. This... whatever this is. He smiles slowly. Enjoy isn't the right word. Then what is? Necessary. My heart skips. Necessary for what? For both of us. I didn't ask for this. No, he says, but you walked into it. That was a mistake. Then leave. The challenge lands like a spark. I hate that he keeps using the door like a pressure point. I hate that he knows I won't take it. And I especially hate that the reason isn't fear. It's curiosity. I want to see the man behind the myth, not the monster in my father's head. You still haven't told me the truth, I say. Not really. His brow lifts. Which one are you looking for? The one you said my father didn't want me to know? He studies me, jaw tightening the slightest bit. There are 1,000 truths, Tesoro. 1,000 angles to any story. You need to know which one you're asking for. I want yours. A slow exhale leaves him, as the admission hits somewhere he wasn't prepared for. My truth, he says quietly, is that your father and I are enemies because he drew first blood. I blink. What? I didn't ruin his case, Alberto says. He ruined his own life by building it on lies, by coercing witnesses, by manipulating evidence, by doing everything he accused me of doing, but with a badge to hide behind. That's not... he wouldn't... He did. My breath stutters. You're lying. No, he murmurs. I'm giving you the truth he refused to. He walks past me, toward the desk, pulling open a drawer. When he returns, he's holding a folder, thinner than any of the thick files my father kept, but somehow heavier in implication. He sets it down. I stare at it as it might burn me. What is that? Proof, he says. Of what? That your father crossed lines even I wouldn't. My stomach twists. Why should I believe anything in there? Because, he says softly, you'll recognize the handwriting. My chest constricts. I reach for the folder slowly, fingers trembling despite myself. When I open it, the smell of paper and ink rises. Old, worn, familiar. Inside are memos. There was no witness. Create pressure, apply heat, break him. A.R. Illegible in places, rushed in others. Notes my father would scribble during late nights filled with too much caffeine and too little conscience. My breath catches on a gasp. No, I whisper, he wouldn't, he's not. He's human, Alberto says gently. Humans break, even good ones. My vision trembles. And when he broke, Alberto adds, he blamed me. I close the folder because I can't keep looking at it. Because each line feels like sandpaper against everything I believed. Because part of me still wants to defend him, and part of me wants to scream, and the rest of me is standing in the space between betrayal and disbelief. You expect me to turn against him, I say, voice shaking. No. My head jerks up. I expect you to decide for yourself, he says. Something you've never been allowed to do. That's not true. Then why, he asks softly, was your first instinct tonight to defend a man whose lies you suspected before you ever stepped into my office? A tear slips before I can stop it. I wipe it away fast, furious with myself. This isn't fair. No, he says, but it's real. I hug my arms around myself, the weight of everything pressing down. Why are you doing this to me? I whisper. He steps closer, not touching, but close enough that warmth radiates from him like a quiet shelter. Because you chose the truth, he murmurs. And truth isn't gentle. I shake my head. You want something from me. Yes, he says without hesitation. What? To see who you become now that the story is no longer his. My breath shudders. And what if I don't want to become anything? I whisper. You already are. What? Free. I choke on a laugh that isn't a laugh. If this is freedom, I don't want it. Yes, he says, you do. No, you do, he repeats softly, because the alternative is living inside his shadow forever. I meet his eyes, and for the first time, I see no monster, no myth, no threat, just a man offering me a crossroads. Giada, he whispers, you can hate me for the truth, but don't hate yourself for seeing it. My knees weaken. He sees it. He steps closer, slow, deliberate, careful. His voice lowers, brushing against my skin. This, he murmurs, is where your story stops being his. I don't know how long I stand there, frozen between a truth that feels like a blade and a man who feels like a warning. My fingers loosen their grip on the folder, but I don't drop it. I can't. It's too heavy, too essential, and too devastating all at once. You look like you can't breathe, Alberto says quietly. I can, I whisper, though it feels like a lie. Then breathe. It's not that simple. It is, he murmurs, stepping close again. Most things are. People just make them complicated. I need time. No, he says gently. What you need is to stop running. I'm not running. You've been running your whole life, he says, into his expectations, away from your own mind. Tonight is the first time you stopped long enough to feel the ground shift beneath you. I shake my head because listening to him feels like stepping off a ledge. You don't know me. I know enough, he says. Enough to see when a woman is standing in the ashes of everything she believed and hasn't realized yet she's not burning. She's being reborn. The words hit too deep. You talk like you want to save me. No, he says. I talk like I refuse to lie to you. My throat works around a breath I can't relatively steady. You want me to choose you over him? No, he says again, and the steadiness in it makes me look up. I want you to choose yourself. The room feels like it tilts. I don't know how. That, he murmurs, is the first honest thing you've said about him. A tremor runs through me, not from fear, not from anger, but from the realization of how much of my life has been shaped by a man who never asked who I wanted to be. My father once told me, the world is full of wolves. You survive by choosing the right one. I never asked why survival meant choosing any wolf at all. I can't just walk away from him, I say. He's my father. And you're his daughter, Alberto says softly. Not his soldier. He's not a bad man. He's a man who broke, Alberto says. And when men break, they cling to the one thing that still feels solid. For him, that was you. My eyes sting. You don't know anything about him. I know he raised you to see me as a monster, because he was afraid you'd see him clearly. That's not true, isn't it? He asks quietly. Tell me, when has he ever let you question him? His cases, his motives, his obsessions? I open my mouth. Nothing comes out, because the answer is never. My father didn't teach me to think. He taught me to obey. To trust his judgment over my own. To believe the world was divided neatly into good and evil, and that he always stood on the right side of the line. But the folder in my hands feels like the proof of a line crossed long before I ever stepped into this office. I don't know what to do, I whisper. Yes, he says gently, you do. I close my eyes, fighting the tremor in my chest. You don't have to choose him or me, Alberto says. That was never the question. Then what is the question? He steps close, closer than he has all night, and lifts my chin with 2 fingers, slow and careful, like he's touching something fragile. The question, he murmurs, is whether you want the life he carved out for you, or the one you carve out for yourself. My breath catches. It's not that easy. No, but it's yours. His touch is warm, steady, confident in a way that makes me feel like someone is finally seeing the fractures and not mistaking them for weakness. You said you wanted the truth, he says. You've seen it. Now tell me what you want. I swallow hard. I want to stop feeling like every decision I make is already decided for me. Good, he whispers. Then start here. How? By choosing something because you want it. Not because he would. Not because I might. Because you do. And what if I choose wrong? A small, unexpected smile touches his lips. Then you get up. And you choose again. No judgment, no direction, no invisible leash, just choice. I've never had that. Not really. I don't trust you, I admit. You shouldn't, he agrees. Trust is earned. But understanding, that's already happening. And what do you understand about me? That your fear isn't of me, he says. It's of who you might become if you stop letting your life be shaped by someone else's war. The breath I drag in trembles. He lowers his hand, but he doesn't step back. You don't have to stay, he says. You don't have to walk out either. You can stand right here until the world stops spinning. It won't stop. No, he says softly, but you will. I blink. What do you mean? You'll stop running, he says. Stop inheriting battles that aren't yours. Stop carrying guilt that was never meant to be your burden. My chest tightens painfully, and when you do, he finishes, you'll finally see yourself. Who is that? I whisper. His eyes soften, truly soften for the first time. A woman who chose truth, he says, even when it hurt. A tear slips down my cheek. This time I don't wipe it away. He reaches out, slow enough for me to stop him, and brushes his thumb along the tear's path. Gentle, reverent, nothing like the man I was taught to fear. His touch lingers for a heartbeat. Then another. Giada, he murmurs, voice low enough to feel rather than hear. This is where your next chapter begins. Not with me. Not with him. With you. I exhale shakily, the weight in my chest shifting. Still heavy, but different. Less like chains, more like a possibility. What happens now, I ask? He steps back. Not away, just enough to give me space that feels like respect instead of distance. Now, he says, you decide what you want your life to look like when you're the one choosing it. And if I choose to walk out that door? You walk, he says, and I won't stop you. And if I choose to stay? His eyes deepen, warm, steady, unreadably sincere. Then, he whispers, we start telling the truth together. For the first time tonight, the room feels less like a cage, and more like an open door. Even if the world outside doesn't know it yet, even if I don't fully know it yet, I breathe in, slow, deep, steady, and for the first time the breath feels like it's mine.